Hello, everyone. How you doing? My name is Clifton Johnson. I'm the founder and executive director of the Empower Series. Welcome to the Empower Series podcast. And we are here this week with our guest from last week, Robert Selders Jr.
How you guys doing?
He is the owner of 3Q Fitness, and he's going to be our Empower Series speaker this month, actually. He's going to be speaking on not this weekend, but next weekend for the Lunch and Learn at the Meadows Conference Center, and then also at the Highland Hills Library. So let me tell you a little bit about Robert, though. Robert is just 1/8 of his life, which is what we're going to talk about. So Robert has 25 years experience as a multi-sport athlete, and we'll talk a little bit more about what that is. But also, he's ranked as in the top 55 as a personal trainer, and that is from the what's the name of it? It's the American Association of Personal Trainers. He's also an author. He was in a book called The Power of Champions, where it was a book written about athletic performance, right? Improving performance,
fitness
right?
and nutrition in general. But then I contributed a chapter on tennis fitness.
Okay, and so this is what he does now. But prior to that, you were electrical engineer.
Yes, sir.
So you got an undergrad and a master's degree and a master's degree from MIT of all places,
Yes,
right? Before you went out on your passion and just got into the fitness and athletic performance improvement industry. Mm-hmm. So he's gonna talk about that, but we have him speaking this month at the Empower Series, specifically about the connection between taking care of your health and also the impact on wealth. So everybody, this is Mr. Robert Selders Jr. Welcome.
Thank you.
Man.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. Finally, right?
Right. And so I also want to say much appreciation to Comerica Bank for being one of our major sponsors, A&E Media Group for the in-kind contributions and your donations that you give online at empowerseries.com or by texting GIVE or donate to 214-225-6337. So Robert, tell me a little bit. We've been talking before we got on the air about all of the different things that you do. But one of the things that you have passion for is really helping people realize and treat their bodies well. Mm-hmm. And what was your saying was what's the main your main theme again? It has to do with
respecting and loving the person who you'll become by taking excellent care of the person you are today.
Exactly. One of our other Empower Series speaker by the name of Suzanne Hart used to say that the way we treat our bodies today is a reflection of self-love.
Yeah.
So not just self-love of our future self, but self-love of ourselves today.
Right.
And there's a lot of reasons that get into the way of that.
Yeah.
I can be accused of putting my health on the back burner. Like we put our work first, we sometimes put other people first, all the different things that we're doing. But if we don't take care of ourselves, then we're not going to be there to take care of other people.
Right.
So tell us a little bit about how you help us take care of ourselves and put ourselves first.
Well, first of all, let me say thank you for having me today. And I appreciate you for sort of taking the time out to make sure that this happened. I think one of the biggest things that you have to realize is life happens, and it happens for everybody. And it's challenging, right? So nobody has an easy life per se. But what we try to do is help people overcome their personal obstacles to getting healthy and trying to identify those barriers that prevent them from moving forward. Sometimes it's their mental, something mental. Sometimes it's something in their career. Sometimes it's something about how their schedule's structured. It could be their home life, right? So we try to engage them in real conversations that allow us to get the information that we need in order to be able to identify solutions that are going to be practical and viable for that individual. And we have to take it on an individual basis because what will work for you may not work for someone else. And so you can't take a cookie cutter approach to that. That's not how life works. So we try to look at it from a practical standpoint and really get in there and utilize the tools and the resources and I would say all of the theory that goes along with how to help somebody transform not only their physical fitness, but also their life.
Mm-hmm. So here's what I want to talk about. And this is going to be a little bit about what we talk about in our sessions. There are 5 areas that I think are parallels between taking good care of yourself physically and then taking good care of yourself financially. Mm-hmm. So the first thing is really starting early and starting with good habits. If you're young, usually we start in preschool doing some kind of physical activity. We're involved in sports, and we try to inject in our kids some sense of activity so that it can carry on in the adult life.
Right.
So the same thing when it comes to teaching your kids early about money,
Right.
saving, being mindful, financial literacy. We may not be as successful in that, but when it comes to the habit of physical fitness, you have three daughters.
3 daughters.
So have you been successful in keeping them active? Are they active and involved in sports now, or what?
Yes. All my daughters are athletes, and just in total transparency, one of the things that I never wanted to be was that dad that was really very just, you got to do this. Like, I've seen and I've had instances where I've talked to colleagues where their kids resented them for making them do certain things. And because my daughters participate in sport and they want to do well and be a high contributor to their team, that comes along with a certain work ethic. And so what I try to instill in them is making the decision to be the kind of athlete that they want to be, and then doing whatever was necessary from a habit standpoint and on a day in and day out and preparation standpoint to make that happen. And I let it happen for them. I'll tell them, I'm here for you. I'm happy to help you in any way possible, but I need you to make sure that you're the one doing the work, because at the end of the day, it's your performance that's at stake. It's not my performance at stake. And so that took me a little while to get to that point. But when I was able to kind of let that go and let them sort of carry that, things went a whole lot smoother.
Okay, so another question for you. Yeah. What if we have our children who are not that involved in athletic or organized sports? What type of activities can we get our kids involved in to get them started early and being mindful about their health?
One of the things that, I've talked to a number of parents, and you probably had this situation too when you were growing up. When you were young, you were outside playing a lot.
Yeah.
And what was the thing that your parents told you about the lights?
Yeah, come in when the lights come on. So, go outside, you run, do whatever, but come in when the lights come on.
Yeah, and so nowadays, because of the way our society is, a lot of parents don't feel as comfortable, even in their own communities, having their kids go out and be that way. So there are opportunities all around for, trampoline places, parks, water places and pools and all of those different types of rec centers. But I think the thing that's most important is trying to expose your kids to a wide variety of different things that require movement and see what sticks, see what they like, get to know your kid, and it requires that you spend some personal time and taking time out to find out and have the conversations with them about their likes and the things that they don't like, and figuring out ways to help keep them active.
Yeah. And I would say even for ourselves, if we were involved in sports or athletics, we kept it up as we got older. But then some of us, like myself, kind of drifted off. Another question I have for you is, for adults, no matter what time and what age you are, I would say any time is the right time to start doing something physically.
Absolutely.
Right? And so I know you can only help people who are willing to be helped, but is there anything that you can do to help encourage people who are not at that point of really doing things activity-wise healthy to start that process?
Give me a little bit more information. Unpack that for you.
Well, so here's what I know. I know that from a saving perspective, when I'm helping people from a financial planning perspective, you got to have goals. If you're not willing to put forth the effort, I can't really inject motivation in you. But a lot of times when you meet people, they're just not motivated to do anything. Is there anything that you do from a physical perspective to help facilitate an insight within them that they need to start showing their body, their present self, some love, so that their future self is not hurting and hating, that they didn't do anything?
I think, one of the most difficult things is getting people to identify with what they don't want. I think that's probably the easier thing. And when you have the conversation and people are authentic and they're real with you and they tell you, what is it about where you currently are that you don't like, and what don't you want to continue? And painting that picture for them. What is it going to look like 6 months from now? What is it going to look like 6 years from now? What is it going to look like 10 years? Or, as you transition, through the seasons of life. And when you get them to kind of really connect with what that potential end could be for them, given where they are, I think that kind of serves as a catalyst, or kind of lights a fire a little bit to get them at least interested in seeing what other options are available to them. And then at that point, you can have a real conversation. Yeah. And, once you assess where they are and evaluate that, then you can start helping them to plan what that next step would be and what it could look like for them. Again, by having the same conversation about what is it that you like, what is it that you don't like. I haven't met too many people that just say, I hate, I liked being where I am, and I want to be this way for the rest of my life. Actually, there was one person.
Okay,
there was one person. I'm sorry. There was one person who will remain nameless. But even she, was a person that I think she was just joking with me. But everybody, when they recognize there's an opportunity for them to be better, I think people want to be better in general, and so they're willing to at least be open to taking that next step for them, especially if it's something that they feel like they can do and is realistic for them. They're more than willing to take it on.
Well, that leads me to the next point. So not only starting early, but where do you start? And being realistic as to you don't want to bite off too much.
Right.
So just like when you're saving, I tell people a lot of times it doesn't really matter how much you save. I just want you to start the habit of saving something. So whether it's $1, $5, or whatever, start the habit of saving, and then we can build upon it. If people have been sedentary and then they want to start working out, we don't probably recommend that they go do a 5K run.
No, absolutely not.
But maybe starting with something that is soft, maybe yoga, or something that is in their natural process of walking around the block. What do you recommend people do to start some type of activity if they've been sedentary for a while?
You might laugh at this, but I just say get off the couch. Mm-hmm. If you stand up and sit down 10 times, you've done 10 squats.
So wow, you serious, right?
Yeah, dead serious.
Okay.
And it can be just that simple. A lot of times people have in their minds that they have to go to the gym and they have to do all of these different things that they see on TV that they can't really relate to, and they think that that's what's required. But if you can just start moving better every single day, one step leads to the next. And then before long, you have other options. As you get healthier, other options become more available. One of the things that I like for people that have been sedentary for a long time is working in a pool. If they have access to a swimming pool, and particularly people that might be a little bit larger and feel that movement is hard for them or it's painful, if they can get to a pool, they don't have to bear the full weight of their body weight, and so they can actually get more movement that way. And so it makes it a little bit more enjoyable. They can spend more time there, and again, once they get to a certain level of fitness and the pain is not there with movement, then it allows them to take that next step and do some other things that will allow them to burn more calories and burn more energy and start to reduce their body weight. And again, options open up at that point.
So you brought that up. Here's a couple of things that I think about: waking up and stretching in the morning. So drinking water.
Yeah.
Basic stuff. Stretching. I know I find that when I stretch in the morning, it kind of helps the aches and the pains. Then there's also a lady by the name of Wendy Ida. And Wendy Ida is going to be actually our August speaker. I'll tell you more about that later.
Okay.
But Wendy, when you look at her on YouTube, she does very little with weights. And I remember working out with her around 3 years ago at the George Fraser Power Networking Conference. And all we were doing was just basic squats, lunges. We did some burpees, no weights whatsoever, and I died. So you may not have to do burpees, but just simple squats, just squats or lunges, things without any weights. I notice a lot of times, even when you're working out with a personal trainer, that they might start you off without any weights, but just doing natural movements. Do you guys do the same thing?
Yeah, absolutely. We try to figure out where people are, and when you talked about being realistic, some people might come in and have this vision of where they want to be, but that vision is not necessarily where they are. And so we have to sort of figure out and kind of reverse engineer that process for them and say, okay, this is a potential path. So starting them where they are and assessing where they are. I always say that if you're not assessing, then you're guessing. And so when you go through that assessment and having a very structured process, it allows you to gather the information that you need in order to be able to help that individual go, reach their goals in the safest and most efficient way possible.
So when you assess, you can give them a good idea as to where do they start, how do they progress, and then sometimes as we get older, we may not be able to do the things that we used to be able to do. So what can we do that's kind of continuous? So whether it's Tai Chi or something that is more lower impact. And that brings me to the third part. So starting early, assessing yourself and not biting off too much, right, and being realistic. But the third part is getting some type of advice. It would be ideal to be able to get a personal trainer. And if it's in your budget, let's do that. But since we are also being astute financially and people are probably not saving enough, they're probably in debt, they don't have enough life insurance, if they need to get some advice, but they don't have the budget for a personal trainer, what other ways can they get advice or some kind of consulting to help them, fit their budget to start working out?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I think it depends on what they ultimately want to do.
Mm-hmm.
There's no shortage of resources online, and most people have access to the internet. YouTube, there's no shortage of fitness professionals out there that have ebooks and videos that will show people, if you just YouTube movement or YouTube how to start an exercise program, you can get some information. And I think what's important is that you not only just look at one, you look at multiple resources just to kind of get a sense of, is there commonality to the things that they're asking you to do? What's their reputation? Who have they helped? Have they helped people that are in my current situation? And so the more information that you can gather from the resources that you have available or access to, the better, because then you can actually take that information and utilize it yourself. And not necessarily, again, not have to go to the gym, but use that information to kind of figure out what's going to work the best for you with the time that you have and the resources that you have access to.
So your fitness company is called 3Q Fitness.
Yes, sir.
Right? And so if someone comes to you and let's say they've been sedentary, they don't know what to do, and they're looking for some advice, what is their experience in coming to you and asking for advice? What's the first thing that you go through with them?
Everybody that comes to our door or to our gym, we start them out with an intro session. Complimentary introductory session, which allows us to sit and ask them questions about what they want to do. Mm-hmm. Sometimes people first want to know, how much does it cost? Well, I don't know. I can't tell you how much it's going to cost because I don't know your situation. And so it's really important to learn more about them, what their goals are, what they're hoping to accomplish. And then once we lay that out, our process and how we help people, we can make a decision from where to go from there. We have a lot of different programs that people can access, and so there's no one size fits all. So we want to try to make sure that we're pairing the person with the appropriate program that's going to actually help them get to where they want to be.
Mm-hmm. All right, so your gym is in Garland.
Yes, sir.
Okay, and kind of as a sidestep, we first met because you attended a workshop where we had some alumni from Goldman Sachs 10,000 Small Businesses.
Yes, sir.
And I always pump them because how did you find out about Goldman Sachs 10,000 Small Businesses first? And then I'll ask you my next question.
Sure. It's interesting. I have, I'm going to call him my homeboy.
Mm-hmm.
I was on Facebook one day and I saw that he had posted something about having completed a program from Goldman Sachs. And I just messaged him and said, man, what was this program all about? And he gave me some information. I said, do you think it's something that would be a good fit for me? And he's like, absolutely. And so he mentored me through the process and, gave me some, information about what happened in his business. And I just got connected. I applied for the program and got accepted. And it was a game changer.
Yeah.
It was a definite game changer.
So how long had you been in business before you applied?
10 years.
Okay, so just a little bit of background. So Goldman Sachs 10,000 Small Business is it's a nonprofit organization, part of Goldman Sachs, but it's a separate nonprofit. It's part of the Goldman Sachs Foundation,
Yes.
And their goal is to help 10,000 small businesses grow and expand throughout the United States.
Yes.
So they work with the Dallas Community College district here. And there's one in Houston, in different cities throughout the United States. You have to be in business for 2 years. Mm-hmm. You have to be the owner or part owner of your business. You have to have made at least $150,000 in the previous year. Mm-hmm. And you had to have at least 4 employees. Right. And those are the minimum requirements. And I think there's 3 cohorts or courses that take place throughout the year. Mm-hmm. There's space for around 20 to 40 business owners to go through it. They probably have around 50 or 60 that apply. They meet the minimum requirements, but around 20 or 30 is the class size. Mm-hmm. So there's some capacity. So that means not enough people know and that are applying for this.
Right.
And so I'm giving Goldman Sachs some DAP right now.
Yeah, absolutely.
Some attention. And so you attended a workshop where we were having 5 alumni speak about their experience. You went through it, and I want you to talk a little bit about what insights did you get from an entrepreneur perspective of how to grow or scale your business through that program?
One of the things that most fitness professionals who actually own gyms think about expansion, they think that owning another facility is the way to go. Mm-hmm. And one of the things that I learned is that may not necessarily be everybody's path. It might not be right for you. If you can explore all of the different ways that you can have streams of income into your business, that might not necessarily be the way that you would need to expand your business. So in my head, my initial vision prior to coming into Goldman Sachs was like I wanted to have 3 facilities, and I had it all figured out and planned out. But the more I thought about it, I have a really good team, and if in order for me to expand, somebody from my current team will have to go and be a part of this next venture, and that changes the dynamics of my current situation. And so I didn't think about that prior to Goldman Sachs, but I mean, when they said it to me, I was like, wow, okay, yeah, that's absolutely right. The other biggest thing that I think I found among a lot of the other things that I learned was going through this program gave me the tools and the resources and the skill to be able to identify when I needed to make a pivot in my business. Mm-hmm. And I think a lot of times we just sort of get in our heads as business owners, this is the way it's going to go. This is my vision. I have to make it happen this way. But sort of talking to different individuals, I got a glimpse of, okay, yeah, that might be the end goal, but you don't necessarily have to go this way.
Right.
You can probably go this way and then go up that way and then get to the same end goal. And that was invaluable because I didn't have that insight before. And having it now, I see things differently. So it allows me to explore different opportunities that I probably would not have paid attention to previously because it wasn't a part of my sort of vision in that tunnel vision kind of way.
So I think that's great. And the reason why we're talking about this is we talked about getting advice.
Right.
So getting advice either from working out as a personal trainer or what's available on YouTube to give you some assessment as to how do you get started that fits your budget, or working with a financial advisor. We talked about that in April, going out and getting some advice and some guidance will help you. It will cut off so much time in you achieving your goal or even in your business. Mm-hmm. And so what the Empower Series does is we bring, in all of our events, we give people hope that no matter what your dream is, look, have hope. You can achieve your goal of getting a sexy body or getting healthier. You can achieve your goal of creating wealth. You can achieve your goal of starting your business. So we give you hope, inspiration to take action. And then we give you education, because if you're just taking action, you have no education, that's dangerous.
Yes,
so we want to educate you and then inspire you to take action based on that education, that information. And then more importantly, we connect you with resources. So whether the resources is Goldman Sachs, whether it's SCORE, whether it's the Empower Series or some of the other number of nonprofit organizations out there, or gyms or financial advisors or insurance agents that can help you really take that next step to achieve your goal that's affordable, is what the Empower Series does. So the 3 things: you want to start early, you want to don't bite off more than you can handle.
Be realistic. Get
some advice. And then the other thing, and this is what the Goldman Sachs program requires you to do too, is you got to report back to them and measure your progress.
Right.
So you graduated in what year from Goldman Sachs?
Last year.
And so they are requiring you to report back how you're doing on your expansion. Is that correct?
Yes.
How long is that reporting requirement?
Not necessarily just the expansion, but just how you making progress towards your 5-year plan. Like that was one of the requirements, that you had to complete a 5-year plan and provide feedback and information about how your business is progressing.
Okay, so one of the other outputs, in addition to all of the knowledge and information that you've given, you come out of the Goldman Sachs program with a 5-year plan, strategic plan, and then you got to report back as to how you're making progress on it.
Yes.
So the fourth thing that's a parallel between working out and your health and finances is monitoring and measurement. If you're not measuring it, then you cannot manage it.
Right.
So we're going to first talk about the health process, and it's important. How important is it to really assess where you are, and then measure your progress to make sure you're achieving your goal? Sometimes that's new for people who are working out, right?
Right, absolutely. And I think it's not just assessing. Like, you have to be realistic with yourself. I think a lot of times, people kind of get into this thought process of, I want to be there, right? And they get frustrated with not being there. And then that can kind of sometimes be be demotivating for them. But once you learn kind of from the assessment process, taking stock of where you are, what you have available, and what resources are there for you, then you can really kind of see and sort of take the right kind of action to get to where you want to be. I think that putting in the work is something that most people don't anticipate. They have this impression of what that looks like. And sometimes when they start that process, it's a little bit harder than they feel like it should be. And so that can also be a thing that maybe makes a person decide, I don't want to do this anymore, or this is too hard. But again, you have to think about why you're doing it. And I think not enough people really take that one step. It's okay to assess, but you have to figure out why it is that you want what you want. And if you have a really strong emotional reason why it's important for you, then if you have to get up at 5 a.m. in the morning and it's tough, you had a late night at work and you had to get up at 5 o'clock the next morning, just remember why you're doing it, and that allows you to stay focused and making progress towards your goal.
So it's important for you to assess the why, right?
Absolutely.
And I would say measuring is important too, because like you said, you may have a goal to be someplace a year from now, but then a year from now is a long way away.
Yeah.
And so if you can identify benchmarks
milestones,
at a monthly or weekly basis, you can see yourself making progress.
Right.
And Zig Ziglar, I always say that Zig Ziglar says that motivation is like taking a bath. Mm-hmm. He recommends that we do it daily. You've got to motivate yourself with either your reason why or something, your vision board, right, whatever that is. And the same thing applies with your finances. Mm-hmm. Your retirement is so many years away, but if you're not looking at how do you make those progressive steps towards it and have short-term goals, and you're not monitoring it, it's just so hard to see yourself making progress and to stay motivated. Right. So those were the 4 steps. So starting early, it was assessing yourself, making sure that you're not biting off more than you can handle. It's getting advice and also measuring and tracking. But the fifth is to always monitor your progress, because as you grow, you may need to change some things. I know that a lot of times when I was working out with another personal trainer and I would see these moves, these sophisticated workouts to isolate certain muscle groups. And he would say, yeah, we're not going to start with that yet because you're not ready for it. Mm-hmm. We got to build some foundational strength first. Right. And so the same thing, once you've achieved a certain goal, then you can do other things either that are more advanced, or as I said, if you get older, you might need to modify it. Right. Or if you're recovering from an injury. Right. And so the important is, reassessing after a period of time and making sure that you're doing something that's going to continue to move towards your goals.
Absolutely.
So how often do you do that with your clients that come in and meet with you?
So what we do is every 2 months I have a meeting with my clients. We call them progress check-ins. It gives us an opportunity to take a snapshot of where they are and the level of progress they're making towards the goals that we've established. The prior check-in. We do it for our new clients, and then we do it for existing clients as they're moving through their fitness journey. And it gives us an opportunity just to sit and talk, because in that 2-month period, things could have changed. Their goals could have changed. Something in their life could have changed. And so, we'll see them periodically throughout the day or as they are coming in. And sometimes that conversation is not had at that point. We're talking about, things that are happening in their family or, what's going on with the workout that day. Yeah. And so it might not be the opportunity, but this gives us the focused attention on them. And it's specifically for that purpose to find out, how much progress they've made towards their goals, and then setting some action steps to reach the next set of goals that they have.
Mm-hmm. So you do it either throughout the year, but at least maybe once a year?
What's that?
You reassess where they are and whether they've achieved their goal?
Every 2 months.
Every 2 months?
Yes.
Really?
Yeah.
That soon? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I know when you meet with a financial advisor, we set up quarterly meetings. Mm-hmm. So it's every 3 months. But every 3 months you do the checkpoint, but I would say every year we reassess everything. Yeah. And so we see, the progress. And with the Empower series, it's sort of set up the same way. We deal with different topics at least every year. So every month we deal with a particular topic that you may meet with a financial advisor in regard to, or maybe even personal trainer, where we first start in January with vision and goal setting. So every year we're going to talk about that. So, what have you accomplished last year? What is your vision for the future? Let's reassess that, add new things to your vision board. And then in the first quarter, we deal with either tax planning, or we deal with preparing for college, and how do you prepare your kids for college or paying for college when you don't have the money for it, and credit management. And then we deal with entrepreneurship. And then in June, we always deal with home purchase. Okay. In September, we always deal with life insurance. In October, we always deal with estate planning. But prior to that, we deal with something around mindset, and even what we're talking about now, physical fitness. So every year we're going to touch upon those things, but it's important that between the years that you continue to work on them.
Right.
You don't wait until next year
Right.
to readdress it.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So that monitoring and reassessment is the same thing. So there's 5 areas, I think, initially, there may be even more, that's a parallel between your health and your wealth. Mm-hmm. But I would also tell you, and I'll share something personally, I'll put this out on blast. I was very athletic, when I was young. And I played sports. I played football, basketball. I was fortunate to get a scholarship to attend the University of Washington and play football.
Okay.
Unfortunately, I was injured. And so my dream was to be, I'm from California, my dream was to be a rich beach bum. Basically, that was it. I was playing football. I was going to be smart, play football, win the Heisman Trophy, get drafted, retire, and own a bunch of businesses in Southern California and live off the beach. But then that dream was crushed when I got a career-ending injury my first year. Now, the dream still lives on. I'm still working towards that, but I had to really adapt to changing. Right. I stayed athletic for a while, but I would have to tell you that I kind of drifted. I started putting work ahead of my workouts, family and other things ahead of things. And then I found out that I had a heart condition. And that was a combination of me not working out as much, but then also is my left ventricle wall is thicker than it should be. Okay. So that's a precursor to some heart issues. And what that has done is that has increased my life insurance. I'm paying like almost $800 a month for my life insurance when it could be less than $300 a month. Wow. Crazy, isn't it? But that's all a function of me, not watching my weight and just letting, putting my health on the back burner, how it can affect your finances. Right. But it can affect your finances in many different ways, right. Whether it's medicine that you're taking, not life insurance, but health insurance, and then long-term care. Right. So back to some of the reasons why people should start showing their present self love instead of waiting. Yeah. Do you get into those conversations as to the reasons why?
Absolutely. My mom will always make the statement, you're going to either pay on the front end or you're going to pay on the back end, but you're going to pay. Mm-hmm. And so rather than waiting until you have a situation where you've had some or you've acquired some preventable lifestyle disease or disorder, if you take care of yourself on the front end, you might alleviate having to deal with that on the back end. And so I think a lot of times people talk about how much more expensive it is to take care of themselves. But if you look at, from a medication standpoint, how much diabetes medication costs, high blood pressure medication, like all of those things, and then the impact on your body and your system if you're having to take that for a prolonged period of time. I mean, we haven't been around and had those medications for hundreds and hundreds of years, so we don't really know the impact, long term of how that's going to impact your body. But if there's something that you can do to prevent that from happening in the first place, then that would be the route to take. And so a lot of times when people come in and they have those conditions, one of the first things they always say, and when I ask them their why, is that they don't want to take medication anymore. Mm-hmm. And so that is a very big motivator for them. And for particularly people like with type 2 diabetes and the doctors, like you're on the borderline, if you come back to my office in 6 months or 3 months or however whenever that next checkup is, and you're still at the same place, then we're going to have to go that route. They're like, no, I don't want that. And so, having those conversations, and again, you have to be able to help people be comfortable with you and being able to share that information, because that's very, pretty deep and kind of closely guarded information, especially if they're a very private individual. But I figured they're there for a reason. They didn't just come in because everything was, just great and they're happy. They have something that they want to change or transform, and then we have to be there to hear and listen to them and help them do it.
Yeah, and I would tell you that, in my life as a financial advisor, there's a book coming out called Conversations with a Financial Advisor, right?
When is that happening?
I know. Okay, you put me on blast, right? 2020, man, 2020. Okay, watch. Okay, right. Putting on blast. Right. So I say that. I know. I say that because it's amazing. People do not meet with financial advisors because they think a lot of things that are not true. A lot of times we do talk about finances and getting things straight, but I say that once we put the financial plan together, those are pretty much numbers. They don't have emotion or anything. But we spend a lot of time talking about other aspects of their life that can affect their finances and how to really help people align their behaviors with the things that they say that they value the most. So where I'm going with this on the physical side is I want you to share with us some things that you've heard people tell you as to why they don't work out. So I don't have time, I can't do it. I mean, whatever the reasons are, maybe some of the people who are watching us now are thinking, yeah, that's easy to say, you look healthy, you got time on your hands, but they don't know that this is only 1/8 of what you do, right?
Right.
But what are some of the things that you've heard people tell you as the reason why they don't work out, that you want to try to bust those excuses right now that people might be saying who are listening to us or watching us?
I mean, the one big thing that always comes up is that it's too hard, and I remember reading a book one time, and it was a nutrition book, and the author was talking about how a lot of people make that excuse about how it's too hard. And she said, getting in shape and exercising, that's not hard. Fighting cancer is hard. Yeah. And so when you put everything in perspective, getting people sort of to think differently about the excuses that they have, or the things that come up, or what they'll allow themselves to believe as it relates to their own personal health, when you put it in the perspective of something that is a terminal disease or potentially terminal disease, I think that it's a way to kind of snap them out of that. Money, that's a real deal. I mean, it costs. It's not free, but I think if you are resourceful and doing some of the things that we talked about before, the things that you have access, I mean, there's no shortage of information that's out there. You can't just say money is the excuse or the reason why you're not, making progress, because you can do it yourself. Their schedule, too busy. I'm too busy. Everybody has 15 minutes a day, or 10 minutes a day. Even if you don't have 10 minutes a day, you have 5 minutes a day. Most people spend 5 or 10 minutes on their phone on Facebook, and you're telling me that being on your phone and on Facebook is much more important than your health, right? So it's about how you prioritize the things that you really, really want. And I think you can find time for just about anything, and if your personal health is that important to you, I think that most people are able to find the time to make it happen. I would, that's what I would say to that.
Yeah, and so you mentioned about money too. So getting a personal trainer is really the key if you've got the money. But to your point, there's things on YouTube. Like if you don't want to find anything, go to YouTube.
Go to
right?
YouTube. YouTube University.
What was it? Is it Jack LaLanne?
Jack LaLanne.
Yeah, oh man, he was like on TV, and all of the stuff he did was with a chair. If you think about it, in push-ups. So there's all kind of things you can do to really get started,
right,
until you get your finances straight to start, getting some more advanced knowledge. What was the other thing I was thinking about when you were you were talking about paying the price. So Zig Ziglar used to say something about, working out, paying the price. I think he wanted to lose weight at one point in time. He was talking about you can achieve anything and do everything you want, but he was like, I'm kind of out of shape. So he started waking up early and running. And he thought that, that was the price that he had to pay, waking up early and running. He said, no, you don't really pay the price to be healthy. You pay the price if you're not healthy.
Right.
You pay the price if you don't do those things. And I think it was Jim Rohn who talked about, being healthy is pretty much easy. When you think about being healthy, it's eating right, getting your rest, and working out. And so he defines easy as things that we could do. So if we could do those things and we just choose not to, it's not because it's hard, it's that we're choosing not to.
It's a decision, yeah.
And he says the reason why it's easy to be in shape, but many people don't, is not because it's hard to be in shape. It's just it's much easier not to. It's much easier to say I'll do it later. It's much easier to say I won't get up.
Right.
It's easy to be, to procrastinate and put things off. But when you do that today, you don't pay the immediate price. You pay the long-term effect of doing it
over time.
Yeah. So whatever we can do to help encourage, inspire you to start taking these little steps now. Start early. Reach out. How do people, if they wanted to find out about you, you have a website?
Yes, we have a website.
So
we actually have two websites. The first one is 3qfitness.com, and that's the number 3, letter Q as in quick, fitness.com. And then we also have a program in our as part of our company called CrossFit. It's a CrossFitGarland.com.
And CrossFit, talk about CrossFit a little bit.
So CrossFit is a strength and conditioning program that we've seen that helps people get into relatively good shape pretty fast. And it can be intense, so it's not necessarily for everybody, but it's a group training program that we utilize a lot of different elements of fitness, everything from rowing and running to Olympic weightlifting to gymnastics to kettlebell training, medicine balls. Like there's a lot of different elements to fitness there. And then we also share nutritional advice and guidance with our members to help them, reach the goals that they have. It's given in a group format, but the way we deliver it, we try to make sure that everybody gets individual coaching during the course of the class. And so a lot of our members really enjoy it because when we're coaching and they get that individual attention, they say it's like getting personal training in a group setting. Yeah. And so, it allows us to provide that at a not necessarily a discounted rate, but for, less than it would be for hiring a personal trainer or somebody that, would be working with. And we have people that work with us as personal clients as well. And we've helped a lot of different people, given their situation. But again, it just kind of goes to finding the right program for the individual. And I say that, most people should do, or everybody should do something like CrossFit, but everybody might not be a good fit for CrossFit. And so that's why it's important to find out what's going to be the best fit for you.
So I just had an idea, man. So I went to the Power Networking Conference, right? And I think George Fraser was interviewing Damon John on the Shark Tank. And Damon John has a bunch of stuff out there, and he was selling something, and then and then I think George Fraser asked him for a discount for the people who attended the Empower Series. And then Damon John, it wasn't planned, right? It was like, so he responded not really too favorable to that. Right. So then he went someplace else to redirect. Then he came back to it, right? So when you were talking, I was thinking, man, it would be good if you offered people who heard of your gym on this Empower Series podcast some special discount.
Well, I'll tell you what we will do, like I mentioned earlier, our intro session is free. Right. It's a consultative session where we can sit and talk with you about your goals and kind of identify some things that, where you are to kind of move you on, put you on the path to the journey that you want to pursue. And there are opportunities that we have on Bring a Friend Days where, people can bring a friend to our gym, and there's no cost for that because we're all about community, making sure that, people get healthy. And so those are there.
So you see how he wasn't too receptive to this.
Well, it's not that.
I'll come back to it. I'll come back like George Fraser did.
The answer will be the same.
Truly a businessman, right? Oh my gosh, I was going to say something, but that kind of got me off rail when you were talking about. Oh, so you were saying that the way people can work out is by joining a group. Yeah, that was a group workout, yes, right, instead of individual training. So the other thing, do you provide any type of free community where people can stay inspired and motivated, like social media or a group on Facebook or anything like that, to where whether they're a member of your gym or was a member of your gym, they can come back and just stay together as a community to support each other in their fitness journey? I mean,
we have our business, our CrossFit Garland has a business page on Facebook. Okay. We also have an Instagram account, Yelp. Information is out there.
Okay, so, yeah. Cool. So the Facebook page is just a Facebook page. It's not like a group. Or do they join a group? Or they just like that page?
They just like the page and they'll get the information.
All right, cool. And then you have did you say Twitter or what? Give us your social media accounts. It's either Facebook, Instagram.
We do have a Twitter account, but we don't use it a whole lot.
Okay.
And Yelp.
Okay, yeah. Yelp. What about LinkedIn? Do you use LinkedIn at all?
I haven't used LinkedIn since I've been an engineer. I mean, it's really interesting. But it's something that somebody mentioned to me, and I think you even sent me a friend request, or
I think you should use it, man. I mean, a lot of the different, I guess, LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram are all used by different demographics of people. But I think every demographics of people need to work out. Yeah, right? Absolutely. So there's probably some people on LinkedIn that's probably could feel you working out at your 3Q Fitness, and they're just waiting for you to.
There you go.
Update your page. Man.
I'll come. I'll do it.
Okay, so the other thing I wanted to talk to you about is some of the other things you're doing. So I know that this fitness is one aspect of your life. You're definitely a family man. You have 3 daughters, like we were talking about before. What are some of the other things you're doing?
I'm also a board member for Garland ISD, Garland Independent School District.
Okay.
I got elected to the board in 2015, I've been serving since. I'm currently in my second term as a trustee, and the vice president of the board now.
Okay, well, congratulations on that.
Appreciate it.
Now, I know a lot of people, who are involved in their communities are, they are very engaged and they're civically engaged. What prompted you to get involved with your school board?
Well, it's interesting. I had gone through a program called Leadership Garland. It was a leadership program for people in the Garland area that wanted to learn more about what leadership looked like in the community. And just having a business, I felt like that would be a way for me to learn more about Garland, the history of Garland, and just kind of see what else was out there. And one particular day, we had scheduled Education Day, and we visited an elementary school, middle school, and a high school. And later that evening, we had an opportunity to have dinner and then visit a board meeting and see how everything was run. And I remember sitting there and sort of looking in the space and thinking, I wonder how many of those people that were board members at the current time could identify with what my wife and I had to deal with as far as having young kids in the district. Both of us were working full-time jobs and having to deal with the process of educating them and making sure that they got, a great educational experience. And I remember thinking to myself during that time, that might be something that I would like to do. And then sort of fast forward, I found out that one of the board members was not going to run for re-election. And so I was like, okay, I'm going to put my name in the hat and see kind of how it goes.
Have you ever run for office before?
I'd never run for office.
So this is the first time,
I had no expectation, didn't know what to, I didn't really, I wanted to go into it without having any expectations. People will tell you like, but that was their experience. Like I didn't want that to impact my experience in any way. And it's been pretty interesting. I mean, there's a lot of things that I've learned, things that, about people, about the process, about education, public education. I'm a product of public education, and I think that it's super valuable. And, there's a lot of different ways that kids can get educated, but I think public education is definitely, one of the more viable ones.
So I can imagine probably nowhere in your future when you were going to college did you think you would be on a school board.
No.
Right? But yet through the journey of your life, getting married, having children, starting, working for someone else and then starting your business, it kind of led you to an opportunity to have an experience about how you can make a greater impact in your community. Mm-hmm. And I would tell you that there are ways to make an impact in your community in many different ways besides just running for office and being on the school board. So what I would like you to do is tell me, from your perspective now, being one of the trustees on the Garland ISD school board, right? Yes. What would your advice be to other people, other citizens, of how you would like them to get involved if they feel like their voice is not being heard? Ways for them to get involved, knowing that they're very busy, just like you were. They're probably not going to run for office, but you really don't want them to seem hopeless, like I'm not going to get involved. What would your advice be to the person out there working like you were before you got involved in the school board?
There's a lot of different ways that you can do that. If you want to get involved in your city or the school district or whatever the entity is, finding someone who has some connection to some governing body or a way to access that. Mm-hmm. I think organizations, whether it's a city organization or a school district, they're always looking for people to help and to volunteer and to get involved. And I think, from a school district standpoint, having parents involved and especially parents of young children getting involved at an early age, because their kids are so young, if they are more active in the school process, then they have the opportunity to see what leadership looks like and, be able to lend voice to the different areas and the different issues that, some people that are, in the school district may not necessarily see. Because, you're going to deal with what you have to deal with, but then there are, those blind spots that you have that people who are out in the community and they're experiencing what's happening on a day-to-day basis that you might not necessarily have visibility to. So if they can give voice to that and they can be a great champion for those things, then it helps, the overall product be what it needs to be for our kids.
Okay. And then the other way we met, after you attended the first Empower Series event, you were actually on a panel.
Yes.
On another one that we did at St. Rocco's.
Yes, I remember that.
So we had a number of people speak, and I'm going to bring up a situation of how you met with somebody that I asked you to meet with. So this was another person I had talked about on the podcast before who only experience of the Empower series was our YouTube channel. So if you're watching us on YouTube now, please subscribe, please share it with other people, because this gentleman was in the process. I think he was considering leasing a building. He was going to buy a gym.
Yeah.
And he did get that gym.
He did.
But he reached out to me because he had never done that before. And he said, is there anything that the Empower series can do to help? And one of the things that we do is we connect you to existing resources. So I told him about the event we were having and you being there. Mm-hmm. And I think he traveled some far distance from wherever he lives just to meet with you, and you took the time to meet with him.
Yeah.
Right? And
Absolutely.
so I want to appreciate that for you, because we have limited time. We don't know how much time we have, but like Dennis Kimbrough says, whatever you do, you don't want someone to waste it.
Right.
and so you really spent time with him. You poured into him. He was successful with his gym.
Yeah.
I don't know if you stayed in touch with him, but he also opened up a smoothie.
Yeah, he did.
In Garland, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So we gotta go check it out. And so from that standpoint of you giving, and I remember one of the things that you said when we talked about networking is that at some point you used to look at networking as something that was like you're not really an extrovert, and you didn't want to go out there and do things. But then you felt about, you not being out there and seeing how you can help somebody else is like you not doing something that is what you're called to do, to be of service. Right. And so you being a trustee, you being an entrepreneur that's helping other people be successful. It's like, so what else are you doing outside of? Do you have time to do anything else? How do you do all of that already?
Man, there is a God.
Right.
Just to your point about the networking, I think people see, what I do on a day-to-day basis, and they're like, there's no way that you can be a shy introvert kind of person and being a personal trainer and being on the school board. And one of the things that that is true, I am very shy, and I'd much rather be home watching a movie with my family and kind of hanging out rather than just kind of being out and about. But Lynn O'Neill, who was our primary teacher in the Goldman Sachs program, I remember talking to her about networking one day, and she's a networking queen. And she said, when you decide not to go out or put yourself out there, then you're depriving other people of the gifts that God has given you to be able to help them. Mm-hmm. And one of the things that I became more aware of is that sometimes it's necessary to develop different aspects of your personality to be who you need to be for other people, to help them along their journey. And sort of looking at it from those perspectives is what helps me to continue to do what I do in helping people, standing in front of a group of 20 or 30 people and having a conversation or telling them about movement or teaching them movement or even speaking in front of audiences. I used to get super, super nervous about that, and not, that nerves don't come up, but I think when I think about what is it that I'm supposed to do to help that next person, and I don't know who it is, you don't know how people are going to take the information that you share and then how it's going to impact their life, but you're still responsible for giving them the information. So
yeah. And so one of the other things I was going to share with you, and we had talked about this before, so I'm not like putting you out there on blast, like unknown, but I'll tee it up first.
Okay.
For those of you who are watching on YouTube, you may have noticed that the most recent upload was the video from Jacques Gourde. And Jacques Gourde was a gentleman who spent 19 years in prison. He started his jail term when he was 17 for shooting someone. And he talks about his story prior to that when he was a young kid coming home from fourth grade, I think, with receiving an A. And he was so excited about showing his mom. But when he brought it home and showed his mom threw a dish at him that was thrown so hard, it broke the tile behind him. If he didn't duck, it would have hit him. And later on, he found out that his mother had some type of mental illness. But from that child who was getting straight A's and wanted to be a doctor, he found himself, in the streets at 14, runaway, addicted to crack, and in the drug game, and eventually through the trauma of that experience, shooting someone. And so he talked about his experience in prison for 19 years and how while in solitary confinement, he began to transform his life through the effort of mentors, writing and educating himself. Whereas today, he's done a lot of things that you would have never imagined. He's written a book, and the book found its way to Oprah, and when that happens, now you're a New York Times bestseller. So he's doing a lot of fabulous things. So watch the video to watch it. But I share that story with you because everybody has a journey. And when they look at Shaka today and they see what he's doing and they don't know his history, they might think, man, you're fortunate. You got your New York Times bestseller. You've got several shows that were, on TV. You're doing a screenplay. You're out there doing this fabulous stuff, but they don't see the process that he went through. But I think everybody has a journey,
right?
And his message is that you're not defined by your worst deeds, and there's humanity in all of us, and everybody's redeemable. I share that as I tee up you and your new book coming out, right? Because I believe you have a lot to say about your expertise in fitness. But I think what's even more important is your journey, because people see you and they see you being on the school board. They see you being a business owner. They see you being a wonderful dad, having a daughter going to college, and that's great, and 2 younger daughters and a beautiful family. But they don't see the process of that. Right. They don't see the hard work, and so I think that sharing your story and your journey and being transparent about what you choose to be transparent about, I believe will save lives. Just like Shaka's story is saving lives. Right. So I wanted to tee you up for that and say your book needs to come out.
Okay.
Man. Don't.
Our book is going to come out when your book comes out. No, seriously, no. That was really good, and I appreciate that conversation earlier, and it definitely gave me something to think about and move towards. So I appreciate that.
And that's my message for a lot of people, because I just think, I was talking to this ghostwriter because my uncle passed away recently. And we were talking about writing a book for him, and I was looking at ghostwriters, and this ghostwriter said that there's a lot of books already out there. So why put another book out there?
Right.
And she says she will not work on a project unless the purpose of that book is to save lives.
Wow.
And she had an experience where her father committed suicide. And she was always thinking that words can save lives.
Absolutely.
So at that lowest point at that time, if somebody was there or if somebody said a word that could have changed his thought process. And so that's what she does. And so I think that there's no insignificant acts. The things that we do, the smile, the work that you do in helping people treat their body today with love for whatever reason.
Right.
The mentoring that you do, the smile that you give your kids, or all those things, the experience of love that we can give each other is going to help turn this world around.
Absolutely.
And so I appreciate you taking the time out of your busy life to be on the Empower Series podcast.
Well, thank you for making it happen. I really do appreciate that.
Yeah, man. Yeah. And so, and your talk coming up is going to be great. Yeah. I want to make sure that everybody's aware of it. Go to our YouTube channel and you'll see the video of you talking about what you're going to talk about. Yeah. Right. And then we're pushing this out on LinkedIn.
Okay.
We're pushing it out on Facebook. So I would say share it with everybody. If you are aware of the workshop coming up and you can come, but if you can't come, share it with someone else, because the only way people will know is if you tell them. And so what would you say? I know you talked, we talked a lot about the 5 things that are connecting with working out and health, but what are some of your closing comments when it comes to why people should come to this workshop coming up?
Well, there was one other thing that I was going to add to what you're saying earlier about, and that was diversification. That was one of the things that we talked about previously, diversifying what you do from a fitness standpoint. Just don't focus on one aspect of fitness. There's so many different other aspects, just like, when you have investment accounts or CDs or money market accounts, like you want to diversify your financial situation. I think one of the things that I always look at is I want to be able to empower people to walk away from the event the next day and apply what we've learned, what I've shared. And so the reason why I would think that somebody would want to come to this event is because they're going to get that information. Whether it's, you have a fitness regimen that you do and that you enjoy, there's always ways that you can tweak it to make it more effective and kind of take you to that next level. Or if you're just getting started, what are some of the things that you can do, activities that you probably haven't thought about that will allow you to get started and take that first step. Just kind of having a really good conversation, because when I'm talking to people and talking to groups, I like to have a conversation. I like for it to be sort of a lot of back and forth, answering questions. I don't particularly care for the sit and get kind of attitude. And when you come to, I want it to be engaging and I want people to be involved. And so if you're looking for a way to change up what you're doing, if you're looking for information on how to start, if you're looking for ways to enhance what you're doing, I think that would be a reason why you would want to come.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, you heard it. I would say that the tagline of the Empower series is ideas in action.
Ideas in action.
Ideas in action. So you're going to get a lot of ideas when you come to the workshop. You're going to get you got some ideas here, but those ideas sat on and not acted on is not going to get you anywhere.
Absolutely.
So let's put them into action, and you don't need to wait until the workshop. So you can start either Googling YouTube for workout sessions, or you can contact 3Q Fitness. Do something right now, or start doing squats in your chairs, right? Stand up from the couch right now.
At the commercial, get up and get down as many times as you can, especially
real.
if you're going to sit down and watch television. Yeah, absolutely.
For real. So, hey, I want to thank you for watching. Again, thank our sponsor, Comerica Bank, as well as Any Media Group, and then for your generous donations. Tune in to the Empower series again, and we'll see you at our next workshop or our next session. Thanks.
Thank you, Clifton. I appreciate it.